They trapped a mermaid in a sacred pillar. Now the village is cursed. A long time ago, in a quiet village by the sea, a haunting melody rose from the waves every night. It was said to be the voice of a mermaid, not just any mermaid, but a sacred spirit of the ocean, watching over the land. But one day, blinded by greed and fear, the villagers did the unthinkable. They captured her. They sealed her in a pillar of stone at the edge of the cliffs. From that moment on, the sea fell silent, and something dark began to wake. Every evening, just as the sun kissed the sea, a strange sound floated through the salty air. It wasn't the wind, it wasn't the waves, it was a song, soft, beautiful, and haunting. Children said it came from the ocean. Some claimed it spoke their names. Others said it made them dream of shining tails and glowing eyes beneath the water. But when adults listened, they only heard silence. Only the old ones remembered the stories. "Do not follow the voice," they warned. "That is the sea's guardian, the sacred one. She sings to keep balance between land and water." But times had changed, the village had grown, and many no longer believed in sea spirits or old magic. Still, the song never stopped. Night after night, it drifted into windows, across fishing boats, through the jungle trees. It called out, not in anger, but in longing, like someone waiting or watching. And slowly curiosity began to spread, especially among the young men. They didn't fear the song, they wanted to find its source and capture it. In the heart of the village lived an old woman named Mama Isi. Her eyes were cloudy, her back was bent, but her voice still carried weight, at least to those who listened. She sat outside her small hut, humming the same melody that floated from the sea. "They don't know," she whispered, "but I do. That song is not a trick, it is a warning." Children gathered at her feet, eyes wide. "Long ago," she told them, "our ancestors made a promise to the sacred one of the sea. As long as she was respected, the village would thrive. Fish would be plenty, rains would come, and the land would be safe." She looked toward the ocean, her voice trembling. "But if she is harmed, if her song is silenced, the ocean will rise and darkness will follow." The children shivered, but nearby, hidden behind a tree, 3 young men listened and laughed quietly. "Old stories," one of them said. "She's just trying to scare us." They didn't see Mama Essie's face darken. "They will not listen," she muttered, "and soon they will learn." One moonless night, 3 young men, Kojo, Malik, and Jomo, met in secret near the edge of the cliffs. They had been watching the sea for weeks, listening to the song, mapping where it sounded the strongest. "She's real," Kojo whispered, "and she's close." Malik nodded. "If we catch her, we'll be legends, maybe even rich. People will come from far just to see the sea witch." "She's not a witch," Jomo said quietly. "Maybe she's just sad." Kojo laughed. "Then we'll make her sing for us, in a cage." They had a plan. At dawn, they would take a net soaked in the sacred oil, stolen from the village shrine. They would sail out where the rocks formed a circle in the water, the place where the song echoed loudest. There they would trap her and drag her to the shore. But something watched them from beneath the waves. Eyes like stars, hair flowing like dark water. She had heard their plan. She had felt their thoughts. And though her heart was ancient and full of sorrow, a storm began to stir in her soul. The sky was still dark when Kojo, Malik, and Jomo pushed their wooden boat into the sea. The waves were calm, but the air felt heavy, like the ocean was holding its breath. They rowed in silence, their eyes fixed on the horizon, where jagged rocks rose from the water like broken teeth. That was the place. The circle of stones. No one dared to fish there. The elders said it was sacred, cursed, but the boys didn't believe in curses. As they reached the center of the stone circle, the water shimmered with a strange light. Then they heard it. The song. Clearer than ever. Soft sorrowful, almost human. Jomo hesitated. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Kojo scowled. We've come too far. Suddenly, from the depths, she rose. The mermaid's skin glowed like moonlight. Her eyes were wide, ancient, and full of sadness. She didn't speak. She only sang. Malik stared in awe. She's beautiful. But Kojo tightened his grip on the net. Now. The song grew louder. Pleading, warning. They didn't listen. Kojo threw the net with all his strength. It landed over the glowing figure just as she sang a note so pure it seemed to shake the very air. The water churned violently beneath the net's weight. The mermaid struggled, her hands reaching out, eyes wide with fear and sorrow. Her song shifted, from a gentle lullaby to a desperate cry that pierced through the night. The sea grew restless. Waves crashed harder against the rocks. The wind howled like a wild beast. Malik's face went pale. We shouldn't have done this, he whispered. But Kojo was blinded by pride. We've got her now. Nothing can stop us. Suddenly the water around them darkened as if the ocean itself was angry. The sky turned gray and an eerie silence fell. The song was gone. The fishermen looked at each other, fear creeping into their hearts. The magic that once filled the air was replaced by a cold, heavy stillness. The mermaid's glowing skin faded. Her eyes lost their light, and somewhere deep beneath the waves, a dark power began to awaken. With trembling hands, Kojo and his friends dragged the shimmering mermaid to the shore. The villagers had gathered silently, watching in awe and fear. No one dared speak. At the edge of the cliff stood an ancient pillar of stone, worn by time but still strong, said to hold the power of the sea spirits. The fishermen believed it was the perfect prison. They chained the mermaid to the pillar, her soft skin cold against the rough stone. She no longer sang. Only tears rolled down her cheeks, sparkling like tiny stars. Suddenly the wind died. The waves calmed. The sea, once alive with her song, fell silent, as if holding its breath. Days passed. Fish stopped coming near the shore. The sky darkened with heavy clouds. Crops wilted in the fields. Mama Esai's warnings echoed in the silence. You have broken the sacred trust. The sea's guardian is trapped. And now the curse will fall on us all. The villagers began to whisper of dark omens and shadows in the night. Fear grew like a storm, tighter with every breath. And the mermaid, imprisoned and forgotten, waited, her heart full of sorrow and a silent promise. Days turned into weeks, and the sea grew silent in a new way. No longer did the waves carry the soft song of the mermaid. Instead, an empty stillness filled the air. The fishermen woke early every morning, nets in hand, hoping for a good catch. But the sea had turned against them. Fish no longer swam near the shore. Boats returned empty, and hunger crept into the village like a shadow. Kojo watched the empty nets with growing fear. Malik whispered, "Maybe the sea is angry." Jomo looked to the horizon, his eyes searching the endless blue. It's like the ocean itself is sad, or warning us. The elders gathered in the village square, voices low and worried. Mama Isi stood in the middle, her face pale but steady. "This is no accident," she said. "The sea is bleeding, not with blood, but with pain. We trapped the sacred one, and now the ocean mourns." Her words sent a chill through the crowd. The village knew they were in trouble. The balance between land and sea was broken, and the curse was only just beginning. As the days passed, a new darkness crept over the village. The fields, once green and full of life, began to wither under the burning sun. Crops curled and turned brittle, their colors fading like forgotten dreams. Farmers watched helplessly as their hard work crumbled away. The sweet smell of ripe fruit vanished. No rain came to quench the thirsty earth. "We've never seen the land suffer like this," whispered Malik, staring at the dry soil between his fingers. Kojo's heart ached as he saw families whispering about famine and despair. Children's laughter faded, replaced by quiet hunger. Mama NYSC gathered the villagers once more, her voice heavy with sorrow. "The sea's guardian is trapped in stone," she said, "and with her silence the earth suffers too. The balance is broken." A cold wind swept through the village, carrying the scent of salt and sorrow. The villagers knew this was no ordinary drought. It was a curse, one born from their greed and fear. And the longer the mermaid stayed captive, the deeper the darkness would grow. Whispers spread quickly through the village. One by one, the children began to fall ill. Their cheeks turned pale, and their eyes lost their sparkle. The village healer tried all her remedies, but nothing seemed to help. Mothers held their little ones close, tears streaming down their faces. Fathers paced the dusty streets, desperate for answers. Mama NYSC gathered the worried villagers beneath the ancient baobab tree. Her voice was steady but filled with sorrow. "The curse of the sea has touched our children," she said. "It is a warning from the Sacred One. Until she is freed, the sickness will not end." Fear gripped the hearts of everyone. They realized their actions had consequences far worse than they imagined. Kojo sat silently, guilt heavy in his chest. The plan to capture the mermaid, once a daring adventure, now felt like a terrible mistake. As night fell, the village was silent except for the soft moans of the sick children. Somewhere in the darkness, the sea remained still. Its song lost, but its power growing. The villagers had to make a choice. Save their children or keep the mermaid trapped forever. One day, while searching through the old hut of a long-gone ancestor, Kojo discovered a dusty, worn journal hidden beneath loose floorboards. The leather cover was cracked, and the pages smelled of salt and thyme. As he opened it, strange symbols and drawings of mermaids in the sea filled the pages. The handwriting told a story long forgotten. The journal spoke of a sacred pact between the village and the mermaid, the guardian of the sea. It explained that the mermaid's song kept the waters calm and the fish plentiful. But if she was captured or harmed, the village would suffer great misfortune. Kojo's heart pounded as he read the final lines. The heart of the sea beats within her. To free her is to save us all, but it requires great courage and a sacrifice. The truth was clear now. The curse was no accident. It was a consequence of their betrayal. Kojo closed the journal, eyes wet. He knew what had to be done, but the path ahead was dangerous and unknown. The village's fate rested on the choice of a few brave souls. One night, under a silver moon, the village was awakened by a haunting melody carried on the wind. It was the mermaid's voice, weak but full of sorrow. From her prison, she sang a song of pain and hope, pleading for mercy and freedom. Her voice wrapped around the village like a gentle tide, stirring memories long buried. The villagers gathered at the cliffs, listening in silence. Even those who had once laughed at the warnings now felt the weight of her sorrow. Kojo stood at the front, tears streaming down his face. The song touched something deep inside him, a mixture of guilt, fear, and a fierce determination. The mermaid's voice was clear. She did not wish harm, but begged for release to restore balance and heal the land. "Please," the song seemed to say, "free me, and the curse will end. Let the sea sing once more." The villagers faced a choice, like to risk the unknown by breaking the ancient chains, or to live forever under the shadow of the curse. Kojo knew the decision was theirs, and time was running out. The village gathered in the fading light, faces heavy with worry. Kojo stood before them, the ancient journal clutched tightly in his hands. "We have made a terrible mistake," he said. "But now we can fix it. The mermaid's heart must be freed from the stone. It is our only hope." Many villagers hesitated, afraid of the unknown powers that might be unleashed. Some whispered that the curse was better than the chaos that freedom might bring. But others, especially the mothers with sick children, pleaded for action. Kojo looked around and saw courage in their eyes, a spark that refused to die. "We will go to the cliffs tonight," Kojo declared. "We will break the chains, free the mermaid, and ask for forgiveness." As the sun dipped below the horizon, a small group of brave villagers led by Kojo set out towards the sacred pillar. The wind carried the weight of their hope and fear. The fate of the village and the sea rested in their hands. One choice would change everything, and the night was filled with both silence and the promise of a new dawn. Under the cloak of night, Kojo and the small group of villagers reached the ancient pillar. The air was thick with anticipation and fear. The moonlight shimmered off the rough stone, casting long shadows. Kojo stepped forward, hands trembling as he grasped the heavy chains, binding the mermaid's glowing form. Her eyes met his, a silent plea for freedom and forgiveness. With a deep breath, Kojo began to pull. The chains groaned, resisting their release, but the villagers joined in, their strength combined in a powerful effort. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the night as the last link broke free. The mermaid fell into the sand, her shimmering skin brighter than ever. She rose slowly, her voice trembling as she sang a soft melody. A song of sorrow and hope that filled the air like a gentle tide. The sea responded, waves crashing with renewed energy as if waking from a long sleep. But freedom came with a price. The ground beneath the village trembled and dark clouds swirled above, warning that the curse was not yet broken. As the last chain fell away, a chilling wind swept through the village. The ground trembled violently beneath their feet. Dark storm clouds gathered swiftly, swallowing the moonlight and casting the village into near darkness. The villagers watched in horror as the sea roared louder than ever before. Waves crashed fiercely against the cliffs, sending sprays of salty water high into the air. From the depths, a dark shadow rose, a swirling mass of anger and sorrow, the true power of the curse unleashed at last. Trees bent and broke under the storm's fury. Houses shook and the sick children cried out in fear. The villagers clung to one another, hearts pounding with terror. Kojo's eyes met the mermaid's, who looked sorrowful yet resolute. "It is the sea's pain," she whispered. "Only through my song can this rage be calmed." The village's fate now depended on her voice and the courage to listen. The curse had been unleashed, but hope was not lost. As the storm raged, the mermaid stepped forward, her shimmering scales glowing in the dark. She lifted her voice, singing a haunting melody that cut through the roaring wind and crashing waves. Her song was filled with sorrow, forgiveness, and hope. It wrapped around the village like a gentle tide, soothing the fury of the sea and calming the trembling earth. Slowly, the clouds began to part, revealing the first soft rays of dawn. The waves softened, retreating peacefully back to the ocean's depths. The sick children smiled weakly, their color returning. The withered fields seemed to breathe again, small green shoots poking through the cracked soil. Kojo felt tears streaming down his face, overwhelmed by the miracle unfolding before him. The village had been given a second chance, not just to survive, but to live in harmony with the sea once more. The mermaid's song was more than a melody. It was a promise that balance could be restored, if only they respected the sacred bond between land and water. And as the sun rose, the village knew the curse was broken, replaced by a new beginning. Kojo's eyes met the mermaid's, who looked sorrowful yet resolute. "It is the sea's pain," she whispered. "Only through my song can this rage be calmed." The village's fate now depended on her voice and the courage to listen. The curse had been unleashed, but hope was not lost. As the storm raged, the mermaid stepped forward, her shimmering scales glowing in the dark. She lifted her voice, singing a haunting melody that cut through the roaring wind and crashing waves. Her song was filled with sorrow, forgiveness, and hope. It wrapped around the village like a gentle tide, soothing the fury of the sea and calming the trembling earth. Slowly, the clouds began to part, revealing the first soft rays of dawn. The waves softened, retreating peacefully back to the ocean's depths. The sick children smiled weakly, their color returning. The withered fields seemed to breathe again, small green shoots poking through the cracked soil. Kojo felt tears streaming down his face, overwhelmed by the miracle unfolding before him. The village had been given a second chance, not just to survive, but to live in harmony with the sea once more. The mermaid's song was more than a melody. It was a promise. A promise that balance could be restored if only they respected the sacred bond between land and water. And as the sun rose, the village knew the curse was broken, replaced by a new beginning.